Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Your Practice podcast and live webinar. And in these sessions, you get to learn about marketing, growing, and scaling your private practice. I'm Brent Stutzman. Today, we're going to be talking about how to calculate your client acquisition costs. And to help me to do that is Mike Ensor of Therapy PPC. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hello. Thank you, Brent. Hello, everybody.
Mike's going to be sharing with us a powerful tool today. It's a calculator for therapists to show them how much it costs to grow their practice and serve more people. He's going to break down how this calculator can be helpful for practitioners of all sizes. You can set patient growth plans, at least internally, your marketing plans. You can manage churn and effectively allocate ad budgets to maximize your practice growth. So, Mike, before we jump into your calculator and how we calculate ROI, share a little bit about your experience with paid advertising like Google Ads and your kind of marketing background.
Absolutely. So hello, everybody. My name is Mike. Also, I wanted to say, nice guitar in the background. I just noticed that. I got to figure out a better way of displaying mine.
Yeah, that was my grandfather's guitar. I learned how to play on it.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, man. Dave Matthews, early Dave Matthews, early John Mayer. Like those were my teachers, and I got to play on that guitar. And Doobie Brothers.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. Classics guy. I love it.
Yeah.
So my name is Mike. I've been doing paid ads since 2008 professionally. I've built and exited 4 different marketing tech-based companies and have spent over $250 million on Google Ads. That's 250 million plus. I kind of stopped counting once I hit that. And I've worked in industries like automotive, medical. We've done work with 2 Fortune 500 companies. So that's really where a lot of that higher level perception is coming from when it comes to how to manage your marketing budget to drive new clients. I entered the space with Therapy PPC because there was a need. I actually had an agency partner of mine, Moonraker.ai, Chris Morin. He had reached out to me because he had some therapists and group practices that needed assistance with driving more clients. Basically, they were tapped out with referrals and with SEO, and they were not having any luck with the paid media side. And paid media specifically meaning Google ads, Bing ads, YouTube, banner ads, remarketing. If you've ever said something and then all of a sudden you saw an ad for that thing that you had just said, that's interest-based and audience targeting. All of that is all paid media. It's all part of that ecosystem. And it's kind of like a gray area for a lot of therapists and a lot of professionals in general, because it feels like high risk because you're putting this money out hoping that that brings in a client and that you're going to have a ROI or a return on investment from that spend. And that's really where growth hangs in the balance. I've spoken with many therapists that are just kind of apprehensive about it because they've tried, it didn't work, or they've hired an agency and thought that they didn't get a positive ROI, or they just broke even. And the problem with that is it creates this concept of like time loss. Like, not only did you not make your ROI on it, but there is a burden because now you have wasted time. I can share my screen right now. Is that okay?
Yeah, please.
To give like a visual to what I'm describing. So we've defined this at Therapy PPC as the growth burden. Is that when therapists get into their practice to make a bigger impact with their clients and they want to spread that impact and have a larger impact wholly, they get stuck on a perceived ceiling because they can't get past that growth. And then it becomes unclear. And then as they're trying to figure it out, it cuts into their work-life balance. So in general, paid media is kind of a hurdle for a lot of therapists. And
yeah, it's a huge learning curve.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is that a lot of people don't even know what PPC means, which is pay per click. And pay per click is the ads that you see on Google and Microsoft. And the reason why these are important is because there's a lot of places to get new clients, and referrals. They're gonna be easy. They're gonna walk right in because they were referred to you. There's not a lot of effort there. But let's say you're not getting enough referrals to grow your practice. Where do you go next? And it's the same way I describe this. If your toilet was to explode, would you go to Facebook or would you go to Google to find a plumber?
Yeah, Google for sure.
So that's the thing, is making sure that when you know,
and YouTube and how to fix it myself.
Yeah, I've
Which is
tried to
Google.
do that. Yeah, I don't think I got it 100%, but I might need to go back in there and check on it. Toilets are actually complicated, really complicated. But at any rate,
Yeah.
that story, that the comparison of the toilet's like a real story. It's mine. I had to fix my toilet. So at any rate, as far as the PPC side, when you search for a service, you're going to get a lot of different types of things that people search pop up in Google. Like, for instance, in this example, EMDR therapist Miami. There's EMDR therapy in Miami, Florida. How much does an EMDR therapist cost? How to become an EMDR therapist? There's a lot of things that people are searching. Some are relevant, some are not.
Yeah.
So as a therapist trying to drive, in this example, new EMDR clients in Miami, you don't want someone clicking on your ad that's searching for how much does an EMDR therapist make versus
Right.
how much does an EMDR therapist cost.
Yeah.
So when you're,
Mike,
and
can I
this is
ask
what,
real quick? Is there a way to zoom in just a little bit?
yeah,
I know
absolutely.
you could go full screen on, or yeah, that's great. Yeah, zoom in a bit more. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks for saying that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what an ad looks like, this is what it looks like when you enter in that search, and you can see that little sponsored mark.
Yeah.
And in this ad, you can structure this in a way that is going to get you the click, typically more so than organic, because you're able to choose exactly what you put here, and there's promotion and there's value that you can add and customize. Meanwhile, an organic listing on Google is static. Once your page is ranked and you're moving up that rank, you can't change the headline, as an example. That's not something that you can test organically. So as far as where you can get those pay-per-click ads, PPC, is on Google and Microsoft. Now, where does this traffic go? That's another question that I get often. And this is a breakdown of how you turn pay-per-click ads, PPC, aka Google ads and Bing ads, into income, or turn those clicks into clients. Once they click that ad, they go to either the ad itself and they call the number in the ad, so they never actually reach your website. This is called a call only ad. Or they click the ad and they go to the website and they call you from the website or fill out the form on the website. The form on the website could also double as a chat bot or any type of typed in content so that you can get that person's contact information. So the big question here is, how much does it cost with PPC to get a new client? And that is really where the math comes in with the tool. So I want to show how this actually began. It began with this very simple tool. And the way that it worked is, I would say, how much did you want to spend on ads per month? So let's say $500. And it would show you.
Great. Can you zoom in? Oh, perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I just remembered. Thanks. I would show you how much your daily spend would be. So this is what, as you go day by day, that's how much is spending. And then that would be your annual amount of spend on Google Ads. As far as how much your average cost per click is, now this is the interesting part about pay-per-click, is this is a big lever for you as the person running your own ads, or if you're working with an agency, or if you have a marketing person in-house, or if you're ever doing any type of ad, the average cost per click is the biggest trigger or the biggest thing that the person managing the campaign can control. And what I mean by that is, if you look at all these different searches that someone can search, all of these have different value for people who want to provide a service. So how much does an EMDR therapist make? Maybe someone who's training other therapists on how to become an EMDR therapist would want to bid on that term, because they want therapists to sell courses and lessons to train them on how to do EMDR. Versus if someone's looking for EMDR therapy in Miami, that's an individual person who's seeking EMDR therapy for themselves. And the cost associated with those clicks can vary greatly, which is another big thing about making sure when you're running these types of ads that you're very specific, because that cost per click could be $5, $10, or $20 even. And all of those costs have a big impact on what your end result is. So let's go ahead and leave this at just $10 cost per click. And again, just for reference, cost per click is when somebody sees your ad on Google and clicks that ad. That's what your cost per click is. So with $500 in ad spend, you would have a $10 cost per click. That would give you about 50 clicks a month. So that's the first part of that answer. How much does it cost to get new clients on Google? Well, at a $500 budget, just setting aside some money to put onto the channel, you should expect about 50 clicks. Okay, well, what are clicks? Clicks aren't clients, right? Correct, they're not. They're just clicks to your website and an opportunity to get that phone call or that form submission. The next big lever that you can pull, and this is a unique one from cost per click. This is the second biggest lever that you can pull on the campaign side, is the click to conversion rate. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me go back to the chart here. How many times someone clicks your ad versus how many times somebody calls or submits a form. That's going to be your conversion rate. How many people called you or submitted a form after they clicked your ad? So if you had 50 people click your ad and you had 10 people fill out a form or a phone call, that would put your conversion rate at 20%. So just as an example, if you go to a website and you can't find that phone number and you're struggling to get to that contact form, that could actually lower your conversion rate. That could bring your conversion rate down. Now, if you go to your website and right above the fold, there's a form, and I can actually pull up a website as an example that accomplishes this. Give me one quick second. As an example of a live website that does this. This is a company that we work with, Intensive Therapy Retreats. And you can see here, they have a form front and center. The moment you hit that homepage, it's extremely clear what to do and what to take action on.
Right.
And when you have that, your conversion rate can be higher. And we'll get back to conversion rate later, but those are the two concepts. Brent, do you think I explained that clearly? Do you think I could do anything else for your audience in explaining this? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I think, and apologize, my camera keeps going in and out, and I'm not sure what's going on there. But can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. So I think, like, if they're thinking about, all right, I'm doing Google Ads, the two things they can control really are the monthly ad spend, and then they could say, kind of your average cost per click. So that is really where you want to focus on. So, most therapists, the ones that I've managed in the past and ones you might, kind of the medium size, let's say 5 to 10 therapists at a time, they might be spending probably $1,000 a month or less. So, making sure those cost per clicks, if you can get them around the $3 mark, that's great. But depending on how popular, or, the populated area, how much competition is, and how much the venture capital money wants to go in that location, could cost, push your ads up a bit. So, see here, you're looking at, maybe let's say $1,000 a month. You divide that by day, you're looking at a few clicks a day that you might be trying to get. So that's kind of where I'd say you can kind of, like, practice owners can start to think about it. Is that about right?
Exactly. No, exactly. 100%. And I just plugged those numbers in on the sheet, and you can see $1,000 at $3 cost per click means you're getting about 333 clicks, or 300 to 350 clicks per month. At a 20% conversion rate, which is a higher performance conversion rate, your total lead count is going to be 67. Total lead means total potential clients that filled out a form or put in a phone call.
Yeah.
The reality is a lot of therapy websites and also a lot of clients, they're doing research. They want to know who's a good fit. They're reading reviews. It's not exactly like finding a plumber because your toilet exploded. That's kind of like the common example of how Google works. But in reality, when you're looking for a therapist, there's a lot of different things that go into play there. So the conversion rate on the website has to be strong. In reality, when I'm looking through analytics for other therapists on their website, the average conversion rate is somewhere between 5 and 10%. And that's all general traffic, and it can be even lower than that. And a big driving factor that I want to drive home is making sure that someone should never have to scroll in order to take an action.
Interesting.
Another way that I describe that is think about a mobile app versus just completely think about mobile apps, not websites. On mobile apps, you never have to scroll. Everything's right there. If there's the buttons are there, the fields are there, and if there's a part where there could be so many fields that you need to scroll on the app, it tends to be that when you push that button, it just takes you to that next page. So it's like a multi-step. Like you enter this and then you go to the next page. You're not scrolling vertically. It feels more like a horizontal action, like you're flipping through a book, as an example.
Well, Mike, that brings up a point before, if you're going to start running paid ads, you want to think about your website too. Is it set up for them to be able to easily find that call to action button to to schedule an appointment, whether that's a phone call or whether that's a form or anything like that. You want to make sure your website is in a way that it's ready to receive, like they can easily get to it. But there's also and I've said this in other webinars too, is that you want to have a website where you are building that trust a little bit too. So that whole landing page experience, when they click on that ad to where they go on that website, you really want to make sure that you are speaking to the problems that you can solve, that you're able to see some client testimonials maybe on there or other testimonials if they're not from clients, and making sure that either it's a call or a website form, they can easily get to it.
I'm going to type in the chat right now. It's a quick question. Who's running Google Ads currently?
Okay, yeah.
So let's see who might jump in. The reality is that this exercise, and thank you, Brent, for kind of jumping in. It's highly interactive. These are the types of conversations we have with therapists. It's not like it's a static environment. We really want to make sure that we get people's nuances involved here because we have some very unique therapists providing very unique clients. Very unique services to clients. Some are in person, some are online, some are traditional, some are newer development. So there's a lot of different types of ways that you can slice this pie across all the different therapists. But what you had just said, Brent, is key, is making sure that when you're going to be running Google Ads, that you are looking at your site and you're saying, hey, if somebody hits this site, can they take the action that I want them to take without having to scroll? And you can just put a button here and send them to the contact page, but why not just put that form right there on the homepage in that above fold section and concisely put forth your value proposition? And also validation. A huge reminder too with Google Ads is that you have to keep that conversion rate up or you're not going to get an ROI on that ad budget. As Brent's example shows, at 1,000, if your conversion rate's really low, you're going to struggle to get patients out of that amount, right?
Yeah. How are you calculating? What's a typical conversion? Is it the filling out the form or is it the landing on the website page? Like, how do you, because this is another important thing for people running Google Ads. Like, what is that conversion event that you're going to be tracking and telling Google Ads to track so you can get, see your ROI?
Exactly. So with Google Ads, and great question, by the way, what you should be looking for is calls and form submissions. But what you should consider is what is more valuable to you and how is your operation structured? If you are a solo practitioner with no admin staff and no VA, which is a virtual assistant, to answer that phone call, calls might not be ideal. Likewise, if you want to push somebody directly into your client management system, what you could do is make sure that you're having them push directly to that to continue filling out more forms and more information to qualify them.
Yeah.
So with that being said, in this example, there is no phone number.
The main call to action is to fill out the form. Right.
Right. And it's completely stripping the phone number as an option. Now, what I prefer to recommend to keep the conversion rate up is play to a person's preference. If you try to force them down a hole that they don't want to go through, especially if they're feeling like they want to handle their problem on one way versus another, a client looking for service might be in a sensitive situation. So letting them call, text, or email is what I would recommend, but not everybody can facilitate that. So in that case, if you can't really manage the phone side of things, I recommend bringing everything to the website so that they can submit a form.
Yep. That's how I recommend. That's where I think, you know a little bit about Therasas, the CRM that I use and sell, is that you try to qualify them as much as possible using a form to see if they're a good fit. Because I always say the less amount of time you can spend on the phone trying to qualify someone, the better. Because a lot of practice owners or intake coordinators, they're busy. They're very busy. They're very busy. So if you can have a solid form on there to qualify them, it's easy to track a conversion event than sending it back to Google Ads, or there's different ways to do it. Um, I think is a great way to go. So we talked a little bit about the conversion event, making sure you're setting that up, you're understanding your budget. Maybe maybe I'm a little curious too. What are you seeing as far as cost per conversion going? Like, let's say it is a solid form that you're filling out. Like, where are you seeing the clients you're managing across the board, kind of on average? How much does it cost to maybe acquire a client lead?
I love that question because I can tell you exactly how much it costs with this tool. So let's break down the rest of these numbers and let's get to that final answer.
Great.
So we have your budget, like you had said, your cost per click, which is really the meat of the campaign. If you're going to be running paid ads and whoever's doing it with you, you really got to focus on keeping this performance high to keep that cost low. When you're keeping that cost low, you're going to get more leads, aka more opportunity to have a client. Now, the two pieces of this that are really important are sales calls to close. And we can call this client intake calls, client placement calls, client qualifying calls. Everybody has a different way of stating this. So I kind of just took away the nuance and just made it verbatim, like how many people have reached out to you versus how many calls you've had. So this is a really important number because conversions are not clients. Clicks are not clients. Form submissions are not clients. So what's the next step, right? The next step is how many people fill out that form and how many people actually attend that first call to see if it's going to be a good fit. Now, the vast majority of people that I speak with that are doing solo, that's going to be around 90%. It's pretty high. Only if someone was, for an example, late to schedule something or respond to that person, could they have went online and found a different therapist that was more responsive. Mm-hmm. And this, I wanted to say, is huge for the product that you provide, Brent, because having a proper CRM and having proper client management on the inbound marketing side is so essential. And even if you have the best WordPress website ever with the highest conversion rate, if once they fill out that form, they're not being interacted with and they're not being carried to that next stage, then you could lose that person in competition to another therapist that is more responsive in general.
Yeah. I like to say I don't know where I got it, but the riches are in the niches and the fortunes in the follow-up. So if you're able to follow up quickly with leads, let's go back to your plumber, right? You got a plumbing issue. If you get a plumber or their intake person on the line, you're like, I need help fast. You're going to go with them because they're interacting with you a whole lot quicker and getting that support as fast as possible. So the likelihood of them going somewhere else for plumbing services is low because you're on the phone. They're like, we can get someone out there in the next 30 minutes or 1 hour or whatever that might be. Same thing with, for intake coordinators and private practices. Oh, you need help right now? Okay. So we have an availability Friday. Does that work for you? That type of thing. So you're right. I think that's that fortunes in the follow-up and having a CRM to at least help facilitate those interactions is going to be really important. Yeah, especially if you're spending money on ads. If you don't have your back-end system set up, then you may not want to spend money on ads because you'll just be flushing money down the toilet.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that, because that's a difficult thing for me is that I can help with Therapy PPC. We focus on running ads for therapists, and we can help drive that perfect avatar, that perfect client looking for the service that is whatever you're looking to accomplish. Like if you're trying to go from insurance-based traditional and maybe moving to EMDR so that you can do cash pay and that it's you're getting paid twice as much per session. Google Ads can do that. But if you have issues with from the point that person reaches out to getting them to convert into a client, if that feels like a pain point or a potential pain point, this would be the time to reach out to Brent.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you feel like you have a good system and that you can turn around opportunities and turn them into clients, that's when you'd want to work with someone like me or with Therapy PPC. And I'm very transparent about that with everybody who reaches out. I break down their numbers with them. And there have been many times where I've told people, hey, you should not be doing Google ads right now. It's people are like, you're like the worst salesperson ever. It's like, well, I'm not a salesperson. I'm actually giving you like financial advice. Like, you're not going to see the ROI, and then you're not going to be happy with me. And I'd rather have people just be really excited to get the result that they're intending. And it's hard to do that if there's gaps like on the website or the follow-up. I mean, the follow-up is just so key, especially as a solo practitioner. Definitely give Brent a message if you need some help, because the follow-up is if you're going to do any type of advertising, you got to keep those people in communication, or they're going to find somebody else who has more availability to communicate with them.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of shady, you know this, Mike. There's a lot of shady agencies out there. They love to take your money, but you're being honest with them. Like, look, you actually aren't set up to run Google Ads. In fact, it would be a disservice for me to take your money and run Google Ads, because these other things on your website and clear call to actions that they really need to be fixed first before you want to start investing in Google Ads.
Exactly. All the way up to the point to where we actually have a web design department. We don't even do new websites or anything like that. It's literally just, we call it the correction team. Like, we go onto sites and help polish things so that if they are going to spend money on ads, that things are polished. And we're holding as much accountability on our end as a provider to make sure that everyone we work with is successful.
Right. So you have your conversions in Google Ads. Like, somebody fills out the website form, but then there's really that next layer. And okay, how many of those who've submitted the form actually become paying clients? And so that's what we were last landed on here, right? The leads to sales calls, or those who they're closed at least.
100%. So the next stage of this, after leads to sales calls, let's just call it 90%. So let's say 10 people reach out, 9 people you get on the phone with. So that's a really high rate. If you're responsive, that should be normal. Now, how many people do you speak with that turn into clients? I had a funny survey on the last demonstration I did on this, and the numbers were crazy. Some people were saying we have an 80 to 90% close rate. Some people were saying 20 to 30%. And the reality is, over time, whether you're doing $100,000 a month as a group practice, or you're just getting into things as a solo practitioner, if you averaged out all of the answers we got, funny enough, the actual exact answer was 49%. 1 in every 2 inquiries turns into a meaningful client relationship. Have you seen that on your end, Brent, with your system at all? You got any numbers like that from the CRM side?
Yeah, it depends. If they're private pay, you're looking at like maybe 30 to 40%. Now, there's some things that get into, there's some things to consider, right, on this when you're calculating this as well, is how available are your clinicians, right? So sometimes when somebody wants an appointment, but that time just doesn't work for them, or there's just no availability, right? So that conversion rate is going to go low, right? They're going to be put on the wait list. So there's that one to consider. If you're private pay, your conversion rate is probably going to be a little bit lower. If you take all the insurances, it's probably going to be a little bit higher. So a couple things there. The ones that do take insurance, you're going to see a higher rate, like around 50%. If it's private pay, you'll see around 30, 35%. You will see a difference. Sometimes the practice owner is really good at selling. The intake coordinator may not be as good as selling, but so you might see a higher conversion rate for them coming to be paid clients if the practice owner is doing it. But that's usually the first gig that the practice owner has to give up, is not doing those sales calls all the time. So I would say you're right, about 50%. If they're insurance based, it's about be a little bit less private pay.
That's a great answer. And it's funny because that actually factors directly into the income side of this, which is an interesting perspective. Thanks for that feedback. Let's do this. Give me a quick direction on here, Brent. Would you like me to take the rest of this towards insurance-based clients or cash pay clients? What would speak best to your audience, you think?
Probably private pay. I mean, it's some are hybrid, but I know there's just so much more interest in going the private pay route these days.
The vast majority of people sorry.
It's like cash pay.
Yeah, because I mean, that's what I tell people too. It's like, well, do you do cash pay? People would always take cash, especially if it's a high dollar amount. Why not? If you can provide a good impact for that client and they'll pay you more for it. I call that I have a chart for this too. I don't want to go digging through my I don't want to go digging through my projects, but I will say this. There's a funny concept called the Fast Pass. If you've ever been to Disney World or Disneyland, you know what the Fast Pass is. And what that is you already paid a decent amount of money to get into that park. People will pay additionally just to make it through the line faster. And that is how it works in all industries. In your local market or the market you're serving, there's going to be a grouping of people. And inside that group, there's going to be somebody who needs that service more than the next person. And there's going to be somebody who needs that service more or less than the next person. And the person who needs it the most has the highest urgency, is the least price sensitive. And that's really who you would want to target with Google Ads, because you're paying cost per click. So what you're really trying to play against is that ROI. How many clicks do I have to get until I get a client? So now let's back up real quick and look at that number. So we have, from the recommendations, $1,000 ad budget at a $3 cost per click. Let's call that website a 5% conversion rate. Out of 333 clicks, you're only getting 17 leads. If you talk to 9 out of 10 of them, you're given about 15 service offerings. So you're saying this is what we do and this is how much it costs. From there, if you are cash, like you had said in the example, Brent, you're closing at 35%, 5 new clients from that $1,000. So your cost per client
for your acquisition.
Yeah, your cost per client is about $200 to get that new client in your practice.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the beautiful thing about this. Now that the next thing is, okay, well, how much value is that to me? And that's where this number gets very interesting, because there's 2 things about clients. Is there's a gate of how many sessions they attend before you know they're going to become that long-term client. Mm-hmm. And the average number there is if they see you anywhere between 2 and 3 times thereafter, if they're either going to see you again or they're not. And that is another number. But then also there's the lifetime value. When you look at how many clients you're losing versus how many clients you're gaining, that's going to tell you how long a client sticks around. And if you're, doing a great job, eventually someone might not feel like they need service, or if the type of therapy you provide is meant to be ongoing, that greatly changes the lifetime value of your clients. So understanding how you're pricing your service against your expectation of how long these clients should be sticking around is also a big thing that you want to set aside and look at and take seriously, because just know in your market, there's people ready to pay for the fast pass. Mm-hmm. Another huge trap that a lot of therapists fall in, that we are trying to educate people out of, is trying to just take any type of client. If mm-hmm. you need to raise your client book and you want to do more sessions per week, the initial thing is, well, who's reaching out to me? What do they need? Let's get them in here. The moment to step back and say, well, I want this client. This is my perfect client. This is how much I want to charge. That's really another big perspective going into marketing that you want to have. Don't waste time being a generalist. Yeah. Sometimes we work with clients that say they want more cash pay, but they don't want to not get people who pay insurance. And my response to that is, it's totally natural to want to make an impact. Every therapist I've spoken to wants to make the biggest possible impact with their career.
Yeah.
But you can't change the world in a day unless you have an infinite budget, and you don't. So if you're going to spend money on ads, spend it on the people that are going to pay you the highest, so that you can turn around and continue to expand and improve and increase and enhance your impact. Does that make sense?
Yep. Totally.
So the next part about this is the cost per session. How much do you think those clients of yours are charging for those cash?
I would say 150 is like the lowest. That's the lowest I'd say anyone should ever go, is 150. So that's like a good, conservative number to go with.
Okay. So when you look at how much you spent, which is 1,000, and at 150, which is start with the lowest, you've netted yourself 5 new clients times 150-ish. The numbers aren't perfect because it's like you're netting like 5.25.
Yeah.
5.25. It's just averaged out. So averaged out anywhere between 750 to 800 per month. The first month, you have 5 new clients, but you're net negative. Why? I spent $1,000 and only made $800. Like, that feels like a loss. But the reality is, how many sessions an individual person is doing total on average. So let's say you have a client cancel maybe, or like stop end service like every month. You have one client end service every month. That means that your gross total clients is not 5, it's going to be 4. So there's a few different numbers you have to look at, but the main thing is if a client's going to attend, let's say over the lifetime, 30 sessions, the actual average that we found from this number was about 45. When we broke down all the numbers with all the different therapists between ones who were doing like short run stuff versus long term, 45 seemed to kind of be like that average range. From there, the lifetime value of somebody who attends your practice for 45 sessions is $35,438. So when you're looking at the overall lifetime value of the client versus how much you're spending in the month, you want to keep this in mind as well. Because even if you got one new client, you're still going to make $6,700 off the lifetime of that person. So keep that in mind. It's an aggregate situation where when you launch ads, you want new clients in the first month, but you should have a reasonable expectation, especially if you're not doing cash sales, that there should be a net negative. If you really pulled a report like a marketer or an accountant or like an operations manager, you're going to see a net negative return inside the first 30 days. As time goes on, those 5 clients, as they stick around for the next month and you get 5 more new clients and then 5 more new clients, you're serving an aggregate number. And then this number starts to jump up within months 2 and 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Mike, we got some questions.
I see that.
Yeah. Catherine. Hey, Catherine. Good to see you again. I just started a Facebook boost last night to increase engagement. I'll be launching a digital course in January. So for now, I'm just trying to build engagement with my ICA with social media. I'm also running a radio ad for 2 months to increase my caseload. Honestly, I'm just doing this on the fly to see what happens. Any suggestions? Yeah, go ahead, Mike. I'll let you jump in. Any suggestions for Catherine here?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks again. I just want to say real quick to everybody who's watching this, and especially to you, Brent, I really appreciate the opportunity to try to help the people that you are also serving with this content. Thank you to everybody, especially Catherine, for asking that question. I really want the time on this call to change the way that you view where you can take your practice and how much that should cost you. I don't want anybody to waste a single dollar in the wrong place. And your question is fascinating, Catherine. I can't wait to jump in. So first of all, I'm going to be a devil's advocate here. So don't think that you made the wrong mistake by doing any type of marketing. Everybody taking a stab at marketing is trying to grow their practice, and that's the first step to being successful. With that being said, I'm going to make a strong case for you to also be running ads, and not just because I'm an ads guy, but because think about it. When you're listening to the radio, and Catherine, I don't know if you can, I don't know if you can type me back, but is this a local radio station? Is this online?
Okay, she got a second one here. Oh, I don't know.
Sorry, my radio ads are 3,000 for 2 months. Okay, so that's 1,500 a month for radio, divided by 30.
And they are local.
You're spending about $50 per day, right? Let's go back into the example that me and Brent were just talking about. And are you majority cash or are you majority insurance? That's another big thing here that we're kind of talking about on this. But if you can see here at $1,000 per month, this number generated 5 new clients, 175 people in the area. That sounds like a radio media buy stat. I see that.
Yeah, yeah, majority cash.
Majority cash, great. So with that being said, when somebody hears that radio ad, things to consider. Radio creates top of mind. I didn't know I needed this, but I heard about it on the radio. Maybe I do need this. I should probably look into that. and it's going to say your name, what you do, maybe your phone number, maybe your website. Radio ads differ greatly, but in general, most people aren't going to stop their car, pull out their phone, type that number in, or go to the website while they're driving. And most radio consumption's either done during work or when driving or working out, things of that nature. Most people aren't going to just stop what they're doing unless it's like just resonates with them directly. What they're going to do is start research. So this is what we call the top of mind or top of funnel. What that means is people who just all of a sudden realize that they have a need, and now they're trying to vet how to solve that need, right? So with that being said, what do I do when I'm looking for a therapist now that I know I need one? Mm-hmm. You're going to start doing searches online and looking for research. So radio is great at triggering intent because it's going to educate the market on something that you provide that you can help them with. The moment that someone hears something on the radio that resonates with them, they're going to start searching on Google because it's not as common. I mean, I think back in the day, billboards with phone numbers, I don't even know how, but they like people used to keep like a notepad in their car and like write down numbers as they're driving down the highway. I don't know. I'm a digital marketing guy, not the billboard guy. But what I can say is that you can see a lift in search traffic in an area that is properly blanketed with radio ads. But after personally running radio in the early 2010s, the result is radio can stir up a lot of awareness. It's better for things like contests and events and things of that nature. If you're a local service business trying to provide a need in a market, you need to be where people are going to be. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I also say like a lot of, if you're new or a lot of people just don't even know you exist, right? So radio could just be a way like, hey, just like brand awareness, like I am in your town and these are the people that I help, right? So there's really, that's like the very, like you say, top of funnel. The second, where most therapists live are, most people know if their marriage is in trouble, they look for a marriage therapist. And so when they have that problem, they are aware that the solution is marriage therapy, and they go to Google and say marriage therapist near me. So that is, that's where a lot of people, therapists, because they have limited money to spend on ads. They're not brighter, better health or better help that's, spends 20 million a year on podcast ads doing that brand awareness type of thing. Where most people live, most therapists live, are at that marriage therapist near me type of keyword that they're trying to rank for. So, Catherine, I think it's interesting that people just don't know who you are. Local radio ads are worth trying out. But also, instead of maybe having a Facebook ads, maybe have more budget towards Google ads. Facebook ads is I'm not a big believer in them quite yet because it's very much like a radio ad too, just brand awareness. Well, Catherine, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. That was a really good like thought experiment. Actually, real time with Catherine's real money. Thanks for sharing that, Catherine. It's really helpful. Heidi wanted to know, I'm curious if we will get a link to this spreadsheet at all. I knew they were
in my in the top of the chat, and I'll drop the link again. If you book a call, we'll go through these numbers directly with you. This is typically something that we do as like a seminar when we break down all the numbers. But if anybody wants to book a call, I just drop my link in the chat.
Sure.
I'll give you the sheet and I'll run through your numbers with you and look at your nuances so that you can get that kind of advice that I just gave to Catherine. Because as much as I'd love for what we do to be like this off the shelf Walmart type product where it's like, I'm going to sell 100 Google ads services to 100 therapists today. It's not like that. It's much more custom catered because therapists want to make an impact in the way that they want to make an impact. And that's really where we have to start as a marketing vendor and a service provider with therapists is we need to start with what their impact and their goals are. And then we reverse engineer that into how the ads should work for them.
Yeah. Sarah had a tip there for radio ads. Good pro tip. I like that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Let's see here.
Sarah, great.
Catherine, what's better, Facebook or Google?
I just wanted to shout out. I'm gonna answer Catherine's question, but real quick, Sierra, I want to read this out loud. You can get free radio ads by calling in every snow day or holiday and saying whether your business is open or closed. Free ads by radio. I have never heard of that, and that is genuinely a creative way of getting free exposure. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if your therapist like, look, if you're going crazy staying at home with your kids, maybe try these games. Or you know what I mean? These games that help you connect with your kids a little bit more.
Quick on the internet side of that, Sierra, and to all the listeners, the same concept Sierra has. Whenever you get those emails from Facebook or from Google, like, is your business going to be open this holiday? Don't always click the link, because sometimes those Facebook emails are a little fishy. But the ones that say, hey, adjust your hours, go to your page and declare that you're going to be open. You'll get extra organic lift by interacting with your schedule during those holidays. It's not exactly like free advertising, as Sierra said, but it can change the way that you show up in search results.
Yeah. Throw a few more questions in here and we'll wrap up our time.
Sure.
Yeah. So throw some more. But Catherine's got the big one: Facebook versus Google. Which are better? What ads are better?
So that's the interesting thing. And I can say that it depends. And I'm going to try to stay as objective with it as possible, but it depends based off of the factors that me and Brent just went over, and the feedback that Brent gave me on the calculator is what kind of practice are you trying to build and how marketable is that? If you're using social ads, you really got to have a good hook. And also consider this: social ads is good at tracking for behavior, but it's not where people go to take an intent. One thing that was interesting about what you had said, Brent, about the close rates being between like 30 and 40% is that with people who have intent, they're ready to take action. They're ready to put in their order, per se. So you're going to have a higher close rate with Google. Actually, in almost every industry, Google Ads specifically has the highest close rate, because if you can connect somebody who has high intention to somebody who can provide a solution to their problem, those people are going to be the least resistant because they're ready to take action.
Yeah, think about it. Your intent in going to Facebook is to be distracted and get entertained, right? Like that, your intent is not to go look for therapy services, because in Facebook ads, you have to interrupt attention, which is hard to do. And the creatives needed to interrupt the Facebook feed with your ads. It's a lot more work. So I'm kind of like, I'm bearish when it comes to social media ads. I'm more bullish when it comes to Google ads, because like you said, Mike, the intent is there to buy something or to research, right? Research and buy. And so that's why I'm way more interested in the Google ad side of things than Facebook. And I've run both. I've run both ads. Facebook's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I'll land on that. And also I wanted to, your service provides integration with Facebook, correct?
Oh yeah. You can capture all of it. The Therasas can capture all those leads.
So that's one thing I wanted to say is, if anyone listening live is considering continuing running Facebook ads, the only two types of ads you should ever run on Facebook are lead forms or chat, meaning that somebody can immediately either give you their information for you to start reaching out, or they're trying to engage you directly right there, right then and there.
Yeah, and only do chat if you actually have an intake coordinator, but like full-time ready to go, I would say lead form is probably a lot easier.
Yeah, and lead forms links directly into Therasas, correct?
Yep.
So the problem that I wanted to say about Facebook too, just a quick education on that, the lead form system in Facebook is interesting because Facebook doesn't give you notifications when you get a new lead. I think it's starting to be more of a CRM now, more so than ever, but originally you would have to like hook up a tool to Facebook to send a lead. And it was very difficult to convert lead form leads on Facebook to actual clients. Now with systems like Therasas, if someone fills out that form, you can immediately start communicating with that person because it's a direct integration. And if you're going to have a better success rate. So long story short, if you're going to run social ads, make sure you have Therasas so that those potential form fills actually convert, because those do have a lower conversion rate. They're on Facebook to look at their dogs and pictures of their nieces and nephews. They're not going there with intent.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing that I would say.
Yeah. And Catherine also, my Facebook boost is a YouTube video. Does that make the difference? No, it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's still video, which is the best way to go. So
I was going to say that's really interesting. Catherine, what your intention was with that YouTube video might have just been like, hey, this is where the video's at. I want to run an ad with it. Some extra dynamics to that. YouTube counts all views the same. So if you run ads on a video on YouTube, whether it's directly through YouTube or through Facebook, the count of that YouTube video is going to go up, which looks really favorable. I've done, as an example, like I've done ads in entertainment for musicians. And when they would launch a new song, we would throw a big budget behind their YouTube video for like 2 days. So that as they're like saying, hey, here's my new song, that video would have like 50,000 views. And it's extremely affordable to do that too. It's like $100 and you can get thousands of views on your YouTube video. Same thing and same concept for Facebook, especially since Facebook's becoming more like Instagram and TikTok with the For You feed. Having that video on Facebook and then having a paid budget behind it, you're going to get more people commenting, more people liking the post. And it's nice to have like a native video that you've uploaded to Facebook, where if people go to your page or interact with you and they see one of your videos and it has 300 likes and 70 comments because you were running ads behind that video for weeks, that's also, it's a big thing, because at the end of the day, people are most influenced by other people's opinions and what they say. That's why reviews, as an example, is a huge buying trigger. Yeah. So if you have a video ad running on Facebook and you have those likes and those comments, those live with that native uploaded video to Facebook forever, even if you stop running ads. Yep. So the real behind the scenes strategy there is, are you trying to boost your view count on YouTube or your view count on Facebook as you're trying to drive those clients? Keep that in mind. And also, if you're running a video ad on Facebook, run ads on YouTube, because YouTube is extremely affordable. And the difference between ads on Facebook is that they're going to make it to Facebook and Instagram, but that is a specific population. YouTube ads can run on TV in your living room. So if you like radio, as an example, you should love YouTube, because YouTube can broadcast to pretty much every website on the internet. You'll even see on Facebook sometimes a YouTube ad, because there's a thing called the display network, which means that you can be pumped to thousands of different sites. So that could be ESPN, or it could be a website like a therapy forum, as an example. You can put your YouTube on those forum, that YouTube ad on those forum pages. So it's like the same concept. So highly recommend running YouTube ads if you're running Facebook ads. And YouTube ads are very affordable. You do not need a big budget on YouTube to get a lot of interaction.
Yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, if you guys are on the replay or even live now, if you want Mike to take a look at your Google Ads campaign, or if you'd like to start one, definitely check it out at the therapppc.com. And let's see here. Catherine has one last comment here, and we can end it here. It's not really an ad. It's like a freebie with advice for people coming out of divorce. It's seeking engagement. Yeah, awesome. I love that. If you can I think Facebook ads work well for lead generators. Like if you have something that's free that you can give away, a lead form, they submit their email and you can send it, because you want to get people off that platform and into your email addresses, email services as soon as possible. And a shameless plug for Therasas, it can be your newsletter as well. So it can all connect it in. CRM just connects all your sales and marketing in one location. So absolutely, that's a great, I think you're going in the right direction there with the Facebook ads for giving away free advice. Free builds trust. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining me on another Brand Your Practice webinar and podcast. All the content on this webinar, podcast, and other media reflects my own opinions and should not be taken as legal advice, financial advice, or investment advice. Please seek out the guidance of a professionally trained and licensed individual before making any decisions. Some links in the descriptions are or could be affiliate links. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Mike, for joining me. And if you found the conversation useful, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and join me next time for the Brand Your Practice podcast. Thanks.
Thanks, Brent.